Welcome to the Search Bar, where we're talking about Google's big AI mode push. So over the years, Google has been really good about getting us into small little habits that move us towards full behaviors. And we think Google's probably doing that right now, Melissa. And it really seems to be important to them to get us to start using AI mode. And of course, Google has its traditional search results, but it also has AI mode, which it released more or less last year to everyone. And the more people that they can get into AI mode, the better it seems to them. So there's a couple things they're doing to get people into AI mode. And one of them is, we were discussing this. So right now, when you do a traditional search on google.com, a lot of the time you will see these AI overviews, like this example here. A lot of the time you'll see a show more button. And if you hit a show more button, whether you're on desktop or mobile, it will expand the AI overview a little bit and you'll just see a little more information, but then the search results remain on the page underneath that. Well, Google has showed some previews of some things that are coming, and it looks like instead of showing you the traditional search results and keeping you on that page, it'll actually take you over to Google AI mode.
Yes. So instead now the experience is you'll get the AI overview, and where you would hit show more, right? So they've expanded on that page. Instead of expanding on that page, it's now going to click and push you into the AI mode experience. And why that is different, what Google is saying that they want to do here is that they said they have heard feedback. They have heard feedback that users like the more conversational search. So they're trying to keep the context of what your original search was. And then when you're in AI mode, if you ask a follow-up question, it already has the context. So that's the big difference between Google traditional search and Google AI mode, is that it keeps an understanding inside AI mode of what you are referencing previously before. So it acts and functions more like a chat bot that we're kind of used to. They don't have all of that experience built into traditional search. And that's simply because they wanted to keep traditional search as traditional as possible. And again, give us these little habits, give us these little things that we could get used to what's coming instead of just the complete overhaul and change, because they would hear a lot of backlash for that.
Yep.
And so this is that tiny step towards getting more users used to AI mode.
Yeah, little by little, anything they can do to get people to use it more and more and more. And of course, we probably think that AI mode is the future of Google. So you go to google.com and it is AI mode.
That's what we predicted probably more than 12 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where they're going. Some people think maybe they're going to Google's WebGuide mode, which is another option too. I actually kind of like Google's WebGuide mode. So we don't know for sure, but that's what we think.
Both the WebGuide mode and AI mode, they are both trying to accomplish the same thing. WebGuide mode just kind of keeps a lot of publishers and brands who are kind of whining and complaining a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad sense, but I'm just saying, like, having some feedback towards the AI mode experience so that they have more ability to have exposure in links. Because again, we've talked about this before here, that it's a symbiotic relationship where those who build and produce content essentially give it over freely to Google or other search engines to consume in a symbiotic relationship that Google would then send traffic back to them, which is essentially the revenue source, right, for them. So that's the exchange of hands to be able to make the free web world work. And AI mode and other LLMs kind of break that symbiotic relationship. And so publishers, content creators are over here on the other side saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Why should we give that to you? So again, the WebGuide, AI mode, WebGuide just kind of gives like a more clear citations for those brands and content creators.
Yeah, we should do a video about WebGuide maybe and dive into that a little bit. But one thing about WebGuide is it seems like they can serve their Google ads a little easier on WebGuide. So that's why some people think maybe it's the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably AI mode, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, the thing we're talking about today, the whole reason, I mean, they're pushing people into WebGuide, AI mode more is a sign that that's probably where things are going.
Yeah. And they've also released at the same time, they had an announcement in which I actually was invited to the test, releasing more personalized results. So personalized AI search results. And so what that does, if you were to accept that button and get into that test, you would have all of the context from your Gmail, anything from your Google Workspace. So your Gmail, your Google Calendar, your browsing history would be more detailed like use within there. If you use any sort of Google chatting features like Google Messenger, that feature that's within, or Google Meet, anything that's kind of said within Google Meet's going to also be able to give contextual reference points. Anything that you've ever liked within Google, I always want to call it Google Business Profile, but in Google Maps, if you've ever liked a restaurant, if you've ever put any notes about any individual places, it's going to have all of that reference because that's all tied to your account. So all of that is personalized information that then when you type something into Google AI mode or even into Google traditional search, you're going to get more results that are referenced there. So like an example for my life is if I was looking up chiropractor in Des Moines, it probably would already be able to go through my Gmail and see that I have gone a lot to Waukee Wellness, which is out in Waukee. So even though it doesn't say the word Des Moines, it knows that's where I usually head. So when I go to, to that result page, it's going to feed me more information from Waukee Wellness.
Yeah, and it's really smart of Google to do this because the more useful it can make the whole search experience, the whole answer experience for people, the better. If you asked, hey, what are some things to do in Phoenix, Arizona, and it can see your past calendar and your past emails, and it sees
where you've gone, what restaurants you've liked. Yeah.
Maybe you've had these experiences already, and it's like, hey, this is one that you liked back then.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to do this because you already did, and you said you didn't like it as well. So, it gets kind of creepy. And of course, some people might not prefer to have it know this much information about them. But either way, you can see the application of it and why it would be so handy.
And you would see that's where the future is going to go. We are marketers. and most marketers know that when you give a more personalized experience, like think about all your CRM and loyalty programs, right? When you give a more personalized experience, it's a better experience for the customer. And that's ultimately what Google is doing the same thing. So I can't be mad at them about that. It does bring up a lot of interesting dynamics of conversation from an ethics perspective. How much information should they be able to look into? What happens, when they're really looking through everything within your Gmail of what you might have forgotten that you've sent 12 years ago, and how that might play into things. But that's out on the horizon for sure. Now, I will say, as a digital marketer, that's also something that should be raising your spidey senses is, wait, that's going to make search so much more complicated. Yes, it is. Because if you have personalized results, and I think, between the last 20 years that we've been in the SEO business, we have also seen that, right? We always knew at some point, like even when they used your browsing history to give you a little bit more personalized results, everybody was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to track these rankings? Or like when Google Maps first came out and it could use your location, your actual location. Oh my gosh, how are we going to track all of this? Right. So yes, it does mean you have to have more hyper detailed content, hyper relevant content for sure. Does that mean that that's more work? Yes. But the more sophisticated all of our platforms become, the more sophisticated and rich the data that powers them has to become. And so it does ultimately need, from a marketer's perspective, you have to weigh, is it worth the resource and the value that you would be putting into it?
Yeah.
And I would say my big claim that I'm kind of owning right now is that search is no longer going to be an owned media channel. It's going to be an earned media channel. Because the way in which you're going to get value out of search is being an answer rather than being something that's going to get traffic back to your owned property, like a website or an app. And so that transition of from earned to owned is really where I see like everybody trying to figure out, like, how do you do zero click? Well, that's earned. That's earned media. Yeah. What am I going to do from my, how I've been running my revenue business associated with my website or my content, X, Y, and Z? Well, from an organic perspective, if it's now flipping over to earned, then yeah, you do have to rethink that traditional model that you've had in place there.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. It definitely is different. Yeah. And it's interesting too to see, Google's whole progression here from just search, like a search engine to an answer engine. And, as we see, it's taking more and more steps to doing that. And the personalization is just part of that. I mean, if Google can eventually become your personal assistant, more or less,
This is literally what it said it was wanting to do.
then that is very valuable if it's so useful
Yeah.
to you and so unique to you, because nothing else out there will be as unique.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the end game for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope that was helpful for you. So much more to talk about. I still want to do the
Yes.
Web Guide episode. I think that's a good idea. But hey, if we could ever help you out with a speaking event or anything like that, we often speak at events. Melissa spoke in Vegas at Affiliate Summit West just a couple weeks ago. I will be speaking about search and AI at IT Expo 2026 in Fort Lauderdale here in about a week. So reach out if we can help you with that. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next time.